Hello and welcome to the saddest episode of Hamilton the podcast ever.
Well, to date at least.
Up until this point.
Yeah, it's going to get a little quieter uptown later.
Don't even start with
Don't even. This is definitely the saddest song we've had to cover in our musical so far. I don't even think that's arguable.
No, I'm not going to argue it. That's right. We are talking about Burn.
You're so serious.
I am serious. I'm very serious. As a matter of fact, because I can't even take it, I'm not going to talk about this song right now.
So what do you want to talk about then?
Instead, I would like to talk about, at least briefly, the fact that Facebook did a live streaming curtain call of Lin-Manuel Miranda's final performance.
That's right. So while a lot of us have still not seen Hamilton live in the performance, we have gotten to see the live curtain call where they come out and bow for all of us.
Right. We got to see Lin-Manuel Miranda's final curtain call, at least for now. He did say that he might be coming back for some of the shows and maybe even some of the shows on the road every once in a while. So that's kind of exciting.
How cool would that be to be just showing up in Chicago, watching it, and then all of a sudden Lin-Manuel Miranda walks out on stage to play the role of Hamilton? That'd be great. We've seen a lot of the original cast actually step down from their role or announce that they are going to step down or move on. This is definitely the biggest name, though. When you have the writer of the musical, whose name is tied to the whole thing, moving on to his new project, that's kind of a big deal. He's actually going on to record the sequel to Mary Poppins, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a sequel? I was thinking it was a remake. Is it actually a sequel?
Well, it's not going to be a direct remake. It's going to cover apparently one of the other tales that the author wrote, that P.L. Travers wrote in the old children's series.
Yeah, I've never read any of those.
I haven't either, actually. I saw the Saving Mr. Banks movie, and it made me want to go back and read some of those after watching it. But apparently, Lin-Manuel Miranda will be playing the role of Jack, a lamplighter, who's obviously the direct parallel we think of is Bert, played by Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
You imagine Lin-Manuel Miranda rapping chim chimney chim chimney chim chim to Roo.
He may have had a bad accent in that movie, but I love Dick Van Dyke. So
he's
I
so
love
much
that
fun.
role.
I would absolutely play that any day. I would have fun with that.
So Lin-Manuel Miranda actually got on Twitter, I think it was the following day after they did that live curtain call. And I think to kind of ease people into this transition of having this new actor come in, who apparently has been taking over whenever Lin-Manuel couldn't make a night. Was his understudy or something like that?
He was the alternate, and so Javier Munoz, I think is how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, something like that.
He's been the alternate. I think he's done the Sunday shows, and whenever Lin-Manuel Miranda's not able to make it or something, they kind of made this role together, so to speak, is what I heard.
Okay. So I think to ease people into this new actor, and so people would be more comfortable with him stepping away from the role, he tweeted a few times talking about his experience seeing this new actor in the role. And he said on Twitter, "I watched the first act of Hamilton today. I will remember the raucous ovation for @JMunoz actors entrance as long as I live." And then he uses a hashtag Javelton, which I liked.
I like that.
And then in another tweet, he said, "I had a Founder's Fizz. I've always wanted to try one of those lobby cocktails, but I've always had a show to do. It was delicious."
So he got to actually enjoy the Hamilton-themed drinks or whatever.
That's right. "And I took a cab home as the sun set across Manhattan's grid. I can't remember the last time I came home while it was still light out."
Yeah, that's got to be a huge lifestyle change for this guy. He's been playing this role of Hamilton since the beginning of 2015, really, because it opened up at the Public Theater before moving to Broadway in August, and it's been well over a year and a half now of this role that he's been performing. And then it took quite a while for those of us who were waiting for this musical to drop for him to finish writing this. And so much of his life has been dedicated to the actual study and performance of this musical of Alexander Hamilton. And that's a big, big deal. I also heard that Philippa Sue is going to be leaving the show. And so, they've been playing together this whole time. And so that for both of them to be stepping down at the same time, that's just a lot of talent leaving the stage. But Broadway is chock full of talent. And I'm excited to see more people come in and do these roles. I'm excited to see other singers tackle the song Hurricane, because that's one of Hamilton's more sing-songy songs, and whereas Lin-Manuel Miranda absolutely showcases his own talent whenever he's rapping, I would love to see another Broadway-style person do the song Hurricane. That'd be neat to see.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
But yeah, with Philippa and with Lin-Manuel Miranda and with Jonathan Groff, who left the show before, and Daveed Diggs has announced that he's leaving. You have
everyone's leaving.
Yeah, and that's the nature of the beast. That's how it has to be. Leslie Odom Jr. is also going on to do other things.
Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of the people that we've fallen in love with over the last year and a half step away from the Broadway stage, and that's fine. That is okay.
Everything's going to be okay. Keep calm, everybody.
Keep calm and continue to love Hamilton.
Also, they did some recordings before the cast was all departing, so we have those somewhere, and maybe they'll get released to us one day in some form.
Yeah, exactly. So Lin-Manuel Miranda has told people, I think that it's going to be comforting to most people to know that we have a recording of the original cast somewhere. We just don't know yet how it's going to be released. So they may have, if you've seen any news lately about how they're going to announce that and where they're going to air those things, keep in touch. Let us know. Follow our Twitter page. We will announce that as soon as we figure out news.
Right.
Just let us know what you find out. It's going to be exciting to see that with the original cast, but don't worry. Broadway is always going to be full of talent.
Right. And those videos should come out soon because everyone loves money.
Yeah, with the original cast stepping down, it's definitely the time for them to start monetizing that and finding a way to get that into people's hands. Although I feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda's heart is to make sure that as many people as possible can access that.
Right. He has expressed that a few different times and shown it through his actions with numerous things that he's done with the performance.
Oh, absolutely. So that does it for our Hamilton updates and our news. Vinton, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to pull the Band-Aid off now.
You mean we can't delay further?
No, we have to deal with this burn.
I see what you did there.
You can't hide from it too long.
You're giving me the 3rd degree here.
So this is the ballad where Philippa Soo absolutely shines. She does that in every one of her scenes, obviously, but here you get to see her as the only person on the stage doing her own performance as a solo, not backed up by an ensemble, not actually doing any choreography there. She is the soloist, and all eyes are on her.
Yeah, so this song is going to show Eliza's power, basically. Up until now in the musical, she's had more of a minor role. I mean, she's been an important character, surely, but
of course,
when you look at her introduction and the song Helpless, you view her a certain way. It paints her a certain way, and this song is going to just shatter your image of her and show you that she's a strong woman.
Yeah, and she's had a lot of moments where she showed that type of strength before, where Hamilton comes home from the war, and she is the pillar on whom Hamilton leans. Yeah. She is the one who is content and is comfortable in that contentment and has that quiet bravery. But that quiet bravery that she's shown up until now is not so quiet in this moment.
No, you're about to get some fierceness in here.
Oh, yeah, it gets fierce, and she is going to be the active agent when she has so frequently been the passive agent in Hamilton's life. If we're going to look at this from a feminist critique point of view, and we talk about how too frequently in literature you see that females are just the motivating factor in a male storyline, where you try to get the woman involved just to move the plot along. In comic books, we talk about refrigerating the character, fridging the girl, where you basically say, well, it comes from the Kyle Rayner reference in the Green Lantern series, where he came home, found his girlfriend dead in a freezer, and that motivates him to become a better Green Lantern, to go on and do things and seek vengeance and justice. And the whole plot line about this strong character that they had, the strong female character, didn't go anywhere because all she served was to move the male plot along. That's not what Eliza is. She is active in Hamilton's life, and up until this point, you could probably point at her as a motivating factor where Hamilton was trying to pursue a woman, and then he got her. He wrote love letters until she fell, and you could look at her in the war time when she has a kid, and how she is the pillar on whom he leans when he needs support, and so his story is being progressed by looking at Eliza. Mostly that happens in this story just because he's the protagonist. He's the one we're following through the story. But here, you get to see that break a little, and you see that she is now refusing to be the backseat player, refusing to be the passive person. She is going to take action. She is going to burn the letters. She is going to be the person to take herself out of the narrative. Even though she was begging Hamilton to put her in, she is actively going to remove herself.
Absolutely. So before we actually dive into the song itself and our musical here, Robbie, why don't you tell us about the historical background on this here song?
Well, the historical background is very short. There's not a lot of historical background.
There sure isn't.
In fact, the whole song is written as a bit of a commentary on how we don't have Eliza's reaction.
Right.
She says, "Let future historians wonder how Eliza reacted when you broke her heart." Yeah. We don't have letters where she responds to that. We don't have the opportunity to see what she actually did in this moment. So there's a little bit of artistic license in the musical to say that this is her reaction. This is her actively doing something in response. Ron Chernow does have that little comment in one of his pages where he says that I think that Eliza had this self-deprecating feature, that she wanted to preserve all of Hamilton's writings, and she destroyed some of her own, possibly because they had bad grammar and she was embarrassed, possibly because of anything else, or maybe in this song, she actually was burning the letters that made her spiteful, or she was angry, or something like that. The point is, we don't know. We don't actually know historically a lot about Eliza's reaction here.
That's right. And Miranda might be just pointing that out, that, hey, when it comes to our founding mothers, we don't have a lot of information. So I'm going to kind of write this and talk about this burning of these letters and let everyone know we don't have a lot of information, and we should. But that's the way women were viewed back then, and they didn't have a lot of those documents saved by our founding mothers as much as our founding fathers.
Yeah, that's right. We definitely have a male-driven American history for a long period of time.
So now we'll have a long discussion on the staging of this song. In the staging here, it's very complicated. You have Eliza sitting and looking at a letter, and there's a desk there, and she gets up, she walks around the desk and looks at the letter some more, then she burns the letter and drops it into this container with some sand in it, and that's the staging.
So there's no bombs going off,
nope.
No pirouettes from the ensemble.
Sure isn't.
No Grand Battements in the background.
Unfortunately, no.
Just her standing there.
Yep, and it's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's what this song calls for. That's what this moment needs. It's that intensity. This is the mic dropped at the end of the last song when everyone's reacting to the Reynolds pamphlet. Everyone has seen what Hamilton has done, and we get to hear the words, his poor wife. And you hear the intensity building and that soft piano melody that starts playing in the background, and you just know the intensity of this moment. And you don't need anything distracting you from that. You see it in her eyes. Yes. You see that. And any performer who can really bring that to life without anything flashing in the background, without any choreography going on, any performer who can just absolutely captivate your attention with her voice and with her presence and with her eyes, that's a fantastic performer that absolutely deserves a standing ovation every time.
Yes. So jumping into the song, I saved every letter you wrote me. From the moment I read them, I knew you were mine. You said you were mine. I thought you were mine. This, to me, recalls that song that didn't make it into the musical that we've mentioned before, This One's Mine, because of how often she says mine. That song got replaced with Helpless, but Eliza calling Hamilton mine recurs pretty frequently throughout the musical still.
Oh, yeah, it does. That's a big theme where it comes up a lot in the musical and her lyrics where she is saying that you're mine. I like that she starts off with that certainty, saying, when I first met you and I read your letters, I knew you were mine. I was absolutely confident that you were. And then she says, you said you were mine, so you affirmed it. Maybe, I don't know if this is supposed to be thought of chronologically or anything like that, but at the wedding day, they gave their vows to one another. He said that he would be hers. She said that she would be his. And she thought, through the course of their marriage, that he was still hers. Later on, in a couple stanzas, she's going to say the phrase, and when you were mine, the world seemed to burn. And so it's like now she's looking back and saying, okay, I knew you were, you said you were, I thought you were, and now, at this point in my timeline, I'm looking back and I'm saying, you were mine. When you were mine, that's what I'm talking about. But now, that's over.
Right. Do you know what Angelica said when we saw your first letter arrive? She said, be careful with that one, love. He will do what it takes to survive. And I think we all know that they're not talking about his life there, because he was willing to give up his life in the war. He was perfectly fine with dying. He's talking about his legacy here.
Yeah, he wants to build something that's going to outlive him.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to rise above his station and rise up and leave something lasting. He wants to have a legacy and a reputation that survives no matter what. You're right, that he had that gung-ho, I'm going to rush into battle, I may die on the battlefield as long as I die in the battlefield in glory, so that I go out with a bang and I go out where people remember me and my legacy survives. So Angelica here is the one who's said to have that key insight into who Hamilton was. And I think we've seen that a lot throughout this musical, right? Where Angelica is the one who is absolutely in step with Hamilton from the very beginning.
Oh, yes.
She says, is this what it feels like to match wits with someone at your level? What the hell is the catch? It's the feeling of freedom. It's seeing the light. It's Ben Franklin with the key and the kite. You see it, right? They absolutely are kindred spirits. They're absolutely in league with one another about how they think about things, how they process things. And so when Angelica here says that about him, Eliza's looking and thinking, I should have listened to her. I should have listened to the warning that Angelica gave me saying, you need to be careful with him. I was helpless. I just saw in you someone I could trust. I saw that you were mine. I trusted you. I knew who I married. That's what I told you. I said, I know who I married, and I'm confident in who you are. And now all of that confidence is being questioned.
Yeah, and I mean, Eliza has known who Hamilton is as a person, and his legacy means so much more than his life even. I mean, looking back at Stay Alive, when she said, that would be enough, just stay alive, that would be enough. Stop worrying about your legacy. Just come home to me. Live this life with me. But he's not worried about this life. He's worried about this legacy.
Yeah, they definitely had separate motives there where she says, we don't need a legacy. Just come home. Let your family be the one you live for. And here you see that Hamilton still is not on the same agenda.
Right. So she's going to go on to talk about his writing here. You and your words flooded my senses. Your sentences left me defenseless. You built me palaces out of paragraphs. You built cathedrals. And compare that to a little bit later in the song when she says, you and your words obsessed with your legacy, your sentences border on senseless, and you are paranoid in every paragraph how they perceive you. So she starts off by kind of praising his writing and like the words that you wrote to me were everything I wanted and needed. And later she's like, your words have become nonsense and damaging, hurtful.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I like that they parallel those two ideas, where she's looking at his words in the love letters that he wrote, and then she's looking at his words that he wrote in the correspondence with Mariah Reynolds,
right,
and in the Reynolds pamphlet, and how the words that he wrote to Eliza were beautiful, were palaces out of paragraphs. They were cathedrals. I worship these words almost. I lived for them. I loved them. They meant so much to me. And now I'm reading your words, and those same things I cherished about you are destroying our family. Those same things that I really looked to and valued and treasured are the same things that are devastating me now. It's your words.
Right. I'm searching and scanning for answers in every line for some kind of sign. It's interesting. She's looking through those old letters and she's trying to see, where did I misstep? Where did I misunderstand who you were?
Yeah, like, I must have missed something. I really was confident about your love. Maybe there's something I overlooked. Maybe there's something in these letters that I should have seen the whole time that should have tipped me off. And if we do look back, a lot of people look at the letters that Alexander wrote to Eliza during the time of the affair, and we have already commented on this particular podcast about how at one point, he writes to Eliza and says, hey, I know that you're upstate and you're not feeling so well, so no hurry to get back to NYC, right? No hurry to come down here again and get into the city. I don't need you to come down here and see me right now. Take your time for your sake, even though I want to see you. And so there are moments in there. So maybe that's one of the hints that she might have seen if she was scanning through saying, oh, well, he was trying to put me off at this point. I don't know. Really, we don't know what she may or may not have found. We don't even know if she actually went back and was poring over the old love letters at this point in history or not. We just know that in the musical, in the text here, she is searching for something that she missed because her faith has been shattered in the man that she loved.
And she continues with that, and when you were mine, the world seemed to burn. And here she's talking about the burning of a passion, of being in love. But she's going to continue on with that burn. I mean, it's the name of the song, and it's the main chorus here. She's going to bring it back, and she's going to talk about it burning the leathers. And then she's going to talk about, I hope you burn. The idea of, I hope you become ashes. I hope your career is destroyed. I hope you fall. Yeah. It could mean even more than that. I hope you burn in hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Go a lot further.
That's kind of how I always finish it. I'm glad you pointed that out because I hadn't quite put that hunka burnin' love context into the beginning version of this, but that makes this a lot more normal and a lot more understandable, where she says, when you were mine, I'm passionate about it, I'm super excited, all of the things are good and the world seemed to burn. Yeah, you're right, with passion, with love, that makes sense. That's how it starts out, and then by the end we're talking about hellfires to burn in.
Right. You published the letters she wrote you, which it's interesting. I think we've mentioned in the last episode that Hamilton included appendices in the Reynolds pamphlet that had letters in there, so those were included.
Right.
But it's interesting that the first and really only time that Eliza talks about Mariah is here, and she places the blame entirely on Hamilton. She's not willing to blame her for it, and she says, "You told the whole world how you brought this girl into our bed." And the way she uses that word, to me, insinuates that she doesn't see Mariah as a seductress or a con artist or even a grown woman. She sees her as a mere naive girl, unwise, powerless, and Alexander should have known better.
I like that a lot because it shows that Eliza here is not about just seeking out whoever she can blame and whoever she can victimize and say that Mariah is clearly the one who is the piranha or the one that is there to steal her husband away. She is focusing all of her attention where it really should be focused, on the one who betrayed her, the one who broke her trust. She didn't have a contract with Mariah Reynolds. She didn't have any wedding vows with Mariah Reynolds that were violated. She had wedding vows with Hamilton that he stepped outside of, and he's the one that lied to her. And so there's almost that, not quite sisterhood with Mariah Reynolds and Eliza for sure, but there's that at least enough respect to say that she's not the one I am throwing this accusation at.
Right.
I am accusing my husband of doing this and doing things against our family. And yeah, I like that she places the blame in exactly the right place on the protagonist who should have been defending her and loving her.
Exactly. And it's a nice contrast to the way Hamilton himself described the event. She courted me, escorted me to bed, and when she had me in the corner, that's when Reynolds extorted me. Those are all things that happened to Hamilton, not things that he caused, not things that he allowed. Eliza sees it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eliza is not letting him play the victim card here. Eliza is saying, you are the perpetrator.
Exactly. In clearing your name, you've ruined our lives. And I like that because we mentioned before that Hamilton's thinking of himself and only himself. There's no our there. There's just him, and him. Here she says our. She's like, remember us? Remember there's two of us? In destroying yourself here with this, you've pulled me under the bus as well.
Yeah.
There's actually a quote I found from the press at the time who were throwing rocks at Eliza for this happening, basically. And one of the quotes I found says, "Art thou a wife? See him whom thou hast chosen for the partner of this life, lolling in the lap of a harlot."
Oh no, you can't see me face palming on the podcast right now, but I am so angry that anyone would ever suggest that if you were just a better wife, then your husband wouldn't have slept around on you.
Exactly the accusation.
Shut up.
Being
Don't
given
even
out by the press.
Oh no, I'm not going to take that. And I'm just going to get angry if we keep talking about this.
It gets worse.
Oh no.
Because another thing I found out from some commentators online about the English language and the way it was used at the time, people said you at the time. Thou was not as common. Thou was used to talk down and condescending to people who were ignorant at the time. So by saying thou in this quote here, they are showing disrespect and they're talking down to her. You see it a lot in Shakespeare, actually. And Ben Franklin did it in some of his correspondence, and the press does it to Eliza Hamilton here in history.
Oh my goodness. I wonder if there's also that just biblical language connotation where there's just I am righteouser than thou, and I am going to speak down to you, because clearly if you were doing your job as a wife, you would have kept your husband's attention long enough for him to not seek, what was that, the arms of a harlot or something?
Yeah.
My goodness, victim blaming is never okay, guys. Never.
And a callback to a previous episode of Hamilton the podcast. When Robbie had a vocabulary word that he learned when he learned the word cuckold, I learned the word caquean, which is the female version of cuckold.
Oh, nice. Well done.
And I don't know if that's how it's said, but that's how it looks.
Turning again to the wisdom of her sister, Eliza brings up how Angelica has read the Reynolds pamphlet, and she says, do you know what Angelica said when she read about this affair? She said, "You have married an Icarus. He has flown too close to the sun." And so this is a reference here to Alexander's Icarus syndrome, his Icarus complex, where he is committing the same crime that old Greek myth does, where Icarus had wings crafted for him by his father, made of wax and feathers or whatever, and he was warned, hey, don't fly too high, because the closer you get to the sun, the wax will start to melt and the feathers will fall apart and your wings won't work anymore.
Right.
And so there was a limit to how high Icarus was supposed to go. But when he left the cave and was flying to his heights to escape and run away to do what he wanted to do, he just kept rising up, rising up, rising up. And here Hamilton has spent this entire musical consumed with his ascent, his upward mobility. He wants to get somewhere. He wants to be above everybody else, and he is going to do whatever it takes to rise up.
Yeah. The Icarus story is that classic warning against hubris.
Right, and here you see that ambition is his folly. He has flown too close to the sun, the wax on his wings has started to melt, and Hamilton is collapsing.
Right, and this is actually a historical thing that Angelica said to her sister. In a letter, she said, merit, virtue, and talents must have enemies and are always exposed to envy, so that, my dear Eliza, you see the penalties attending the position of so amiable a man. All this you would not have suffered if you had married into a family less near the sun.
Oh, I love Angelica's writing.
Right?
And then there's that commentary on the Reynolds pamphlet that Eliza actually puts into this that you mentioned, Vinton, where she says, you and your words, obsessed with your legacy, your sentences border on senseless, you are paranoid in every paragraph, how they perceive you. You.
I love those 3 words in this musical and how they're performed by Philippa Sue. It's so beautiful. And the way her voice like cracks and breaks in that recording when she's saying that last you, that emotion that you can feel it. You can feel it coming through your speakers.
Yeah, the gravel in her voice there where she actually breaks some of the beauty that she's been singing with. She's been singing with that classical beauty throughout all of this that it's just fantastic. And then she gets to this and it is raw. You hear that she's losing a bit of her voice. She's just pressing there's so much emotion in that you. I really like it. I saw on the internet where someone had commented that this portion of the song, You, might be a Last 5 Years reference from Jason Robert Brown, we've talked about on an earlier podcast when we were talking about the Say No to This song. Here you see in the Last 5 Years that Kathy, is singing about her husband who is wayward, and she's been wanting to be with him the whole time, and she sings, you, and nothing but you, miles and piles of you. And then she brings it up later on in another song when she's actually angry, and she sings that same line again, you, and nothing but you. In that particular part of that musical, you do see a parallel to a wife and a husband. The husband is going astray, so to speak, and the wife is longing for him and then is turning against his pride and his ambition and how he is consumed about himself, and she just wanted to be a part of his life. She wanted to be a part of that story. Here, Eliza is saying to Hamilton, I just wanted to be a part of the narrative. I just wanted to be a part of your life. I wanted to be enough for you because you were enough for me. And all you cared about was your legacy. You were obsessed with your legacy. All you cared about was that. It was you, miles and piles of you.
Right. And I like that way to interpret that line. I know you could kind of see in there that she might be hesitating to say something after it, like, you horrible person.
Like she's searching for words.
But to me, it's that you. It's always about you.
So here we get to the second beat in a 3-beat for Eliza's story arc. You saw at the beginning of the musical, she said, just let me be a part of the narrative. At the end of this musical, she's going to say, I'm inserting myself back into the narrative. But right here, she is taking action again, and she is saying, I am erasing myself from the narrative. You put me back into it, but then you dragged me down. You threw me under the bus. Yeah. I don't want to be in this story anymore. I'm erasing myself from the narrative. Let future historians wonder how Eliza reacted when you broke her heart. You have torn it all apart.
Yeah, I like that Eliza knows she's connected to someone who's going to make her go down in history too. That she's going to go down in history books.
Yeah, history has its eyes on her and Hamilton.
But while she knows that you have little control over how your story is interpreted and twisted and those things.
Who lives, who dies, who tells your story.
She knows that she can take herself out as much as possible, and that will prevent that from happening.
Yeah, that's the moment where you get to shred all the evidence.
Right. So I like that in history that we don't necessarily know why she got rid of those letters, but I like this idea of, hey, I'm not the important part here. I don't want to be focused on, I don't want people scrutinizing my life. I want to support my husband's legacy, and I want you to just leave me alone.
Yeah, and we do know, even though we don't have official documentation about how she responded to this, we do know that into her dying days, she was still defending Hamilton's legacy. She was still talking about her dear Hamilton and still longing for a reunion in heaven with her dear Hamilton and how much she loved her dear Hamilton. And so throughout all of it, she looked back fondly, and the correspondence we do have is her speaking very highly of her husband. And she frequently did preach the gospel of Alexander Hamilton while remaining humble about her own legacy. She didn't want to be the front man. She didn't want to be the person, the woman on the front of the stage. She wanted to be the person behind the scenes helping support that person that she felt needed and deserved the legacy that he wanted.
Yeah, and I mean, that point I was making kind of harkens to the part of the song that says, the world has no right to my heart. The world has no place in our bed. They don't get to know what I said. She is basically bringing up her right to privacy when it comes to history's eyes. And we mentioned earlier about how this is all kind of an assumption on the lack of knowledge we have on the founding mothers and a lot of the things that were said by them and how it was a male-centric place. There's actually a freestyle style performance from the BET Awards, the Hamilton Cypher. Have you heard about this, Robbie?
Oh, I haven't. Tell me about it.
So I guess during the awards, they bring out people and they do like little freestyle lines about who they are and what they're about.
Okay.
Different things like that, but they're always somewhat freestyle in the old school meaning where it doesn't matter about the beat that they're on. They just kind of try to shoot the words off poetically. And Goldsberry, who plays Angelica, did one, and she said a line that says, I came to represent the ladies in our history. We know the founding fathers, but the mothers are a mystery. And I love that line.
That is great. Yeah, that's really good.
Referencing this exact thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've referenced her books multiple times, but go check out Cokie Roberts' Ladies of Liberty and Founding Mothers. Good histories about the founding mothers of our country in the United States.
Right. So she goes on in the lyrics here, you've torn it all apart. I am watching it burn. And then she goes on that line I mentioned, the world has no right to my heart. The world has no place in our bed. They don't get to know what I said. And this is the point where she on stage is burning the leathers.
So let me ask you, Vinton, are you the type that holds on to love letters from your exes?
I don't really know that I have love letters from my exes.
Oh, yeah?
If I was the type, I don't think I have had the chance to know that.
Right. Well, I had just packed away some love letters in just in the pages of some books before, and I came across them while I was unpacking once, and it was so weird going back and reading love letters from ages ago, right. Years and years ago. It was just strange. I think most people would think it is weird to hold on to those memories of people that had hurt you or people that were not a part of your life anymore. So here you see that she's obviously going to still be a part of Hamilton's life because we have the privilege of viewing this through the eyes of history and see that she does absolutely take her husband back. Forgiveness, can you imagine?
Sure, don't get ahead of yourself, Robbie.
Oh no. But here you see that she's vengeful. She is taking out her passionate rage against this. She's saying, I'm going to destroy the memories. I'm burning the memories. I'm taking those things, those memories of the good times that maybe I had written you all of these things about love, all these things about how I trusted you, and now I'm burning those because I'm getting rid of that evidence. Those things that might have been able to be held on to as, well, his wife really did love him. His wife was cherishing him. His wife was protecting him and was loving him and serving him and was absolutely providing for him in all of these strong ways. She gets rid of that evidence saying, I'm not going to be that person for you anymore. At least right now, you see that she is at the height of her passionate anger.
Right. Yeah, so she's going to say, she's burning the leathers that might have redeemed you. You forfeit all rights to my heart. You forfeit the place in our bed. You'll sleep in your office instead. Which kind of reminds me of Dante's version of hell. The thing that he wanted is now going to become his torture. You want your work? You want to just focus on your work? You got it. You don't have me anymore.
I'm turning you over to that thing that you wanted, the independence, the work that you pursued instead of me is now all you have.
Yep.
And you are now sleeping in your office with only the memories of when you were mine. That's solid. That she's saying that we're not going to make more memories anymore. We're not going to still belong to each other. You are not mine anymore. you have a memory of that, and I hope that sticks in your brain, that burns an image in your mind, and that you are absolutely unable to forget how much you have thrown away, how much you have lost. And it kind of makes me think that he's sitting there in the office listening to the song by Passenger singing things like, well, you only need the light when it's burning low, you only miss the sun when it starts to snow, you only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go, Hamilton.
Yep.
You let go this powerful, wonderful, supportive, passionate woman. And you are the one who destroyed this, Alex. You were the one who threw this under the bus when you wrote these words. And before that, when you slept with Mariah Reynolds and invited Mariah back into your bed. This is all the blame is on Alexander Hamilton. It is not on Eliza. And she is saying here that you're going to be ashamed of that. You may have said that you were blushing in the paragraph you wrote in the Reynolds pamphlet. Now you are actually going to, at least in the context of this musical, you are going to be ashamed and embarrassed, and you're going to miss me when I'm gone. You just have the memories to comfort you.
Right. And she says, I hope that you burn, which we've mentioned, maybe a burn in hell there, maybe the burning of your career, the burning of who you are as a person. Could be just burning. I hope that this hurts you. I hope this burns your heart. And someone on the internet pointed out that this could be a reference to 1 Corinthians 7:9, which Eliza would have been familiar with. It is better to marry than to burn sensually, to burn after someone sexually.
Oh, I see,
which
too.
Goes along with the previous lines. You forfeit the place in our bed.
Yeah, that chapter, correct me if I'm wrong, that's actually talking about how Paul says that it's better to be single if you can, as long as you can. But if you can't actually remain single anymore, if you are burning with passion, then go ahead and get married.
Right.
And, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, so the burn that way as well.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch,
These all
I
things
think.
could be in there.
Yeah, you're good, though. I like that. Because it makes sense. It's about, are you going to be single or are you going to be married?
Right.
And here he chose to be single because he was burning with too much passion, and he probably should have been focusing that passion towards the right woman.
So that brings us to the end of our song.
I made it.
I didn't cry. Guys, it was easier when we were talking about it.
It is easier
than
now.
Actually listening to it. We was trying to take an intellectual road to it and be like, let's discuss all the information we have here.
Right.
If I think about it too much, I'm going to cry though.
I think I can solve the no crying problem right now just by
I'm not okay with this.
Yeah, okay, hold on.
I saved every letter.
Oh yeah, I'm dead. I'm
done. We're done. It's over.
Yeah, this is the first song in the musical that truly slays my heart and truly makes me weep. I weep more heavily after the reprise of Stay Alive when you go into It's Quiet Uptown, but this one in itself is so devastating. It's so much passion in the performance, so much emotion that is given in the song that, yeah, I think that if it doesn't do something in your heart, you might want to get your heart checked a little bit.
Right. So that's it for Burn. Next week, Blow Us All Away. We'll see how we do in the next few songs.
Yeah, the next few songs are going to be devastating. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So buckle your emotional safety belt for the next few weeks.
We're coming in for a rough landing. If you would like to get in touch with us, remember you can always tweet at us at GraphoCast. You can email us, contact@graphocast.com. You can leave comments on the posts on the website, graphocast.com. Or you can hit us up on Twitter personally. I'm at FleshEater.
And I'm at Alpha Knight.
We'll see you next episode. Hopefully we'll blow you all away.
Dag, that tagline, amazed and astonished.
Probably shouldn't brag.
Is this going to be every episode from now
Is this real life? Is this going to be forever? Stay alive till next time.
And after.
This has been a Graphomania production. If you would like to hear more podcasts, go to graphocast.com, graphocast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Graphocast and like the Graphomania page on Facebook for news and updates.